Hello and welcome to an open source live code hangout. We're going to continue doing some game development, at least some mod development for the open source Minetest game. You probably see a striking similarity to Minecraft if you've ever played that game. And Minetest and Minecraft were developed around the same time and have been under development for quite a while. I think Minetest was originally created around 2011. They're both voxel-based exploration, crafting, and survival games. The key difference is Minetest is fully open source. You don't need a Microsoft account or any other particular account to play. You can just download it. And it's written in C++ instead of Java. I'm not sure if Minecraft is still written in Java or .NET or something. And the game is expanded through modifications. A lot of these are written in the Lua language to do things like bringing animals or interactive objects like blimps and vehicles or new biomes and art 3D models into the game. It's pretty comprehensive what you can do. Create whole new game genres even inside of the game engine. We're working on a couple of mods here. Let's see. We've published one mod here on the Content DB, which is where the Minetest mods are published. I've got a mod I wrote a while ago, but I'll look for this. I thought it might have been featured. We published this Minetest Emotions mod. My friend Victor or Resende Tech and I have been meeting about once a week talking about how we can do some game development projects, and we are going to kind of create an educational game using the Minetest engine with some interactives. And the first one we created, just to get a feeling for how modding works, is this emotions block. Texturing blocks is actually one of the easier mods to get started with. Victor created the artwork and I helped a little bit with the code and project management here on GitHub. Today I'll continue a little bit of the project management work. My main background is a software engineer and open source developer, so I'd like to extend this README a little bit to give a bit more background on the project and what we're trying to achieve here, and look at another mod, a potential mod we can create next. Okay, so we do have a couple of mods in the pipeline right now. One for sort of the elements, the periodic table of elements as blocks. And I would like to make one. It's just like a series of STEM posters or STEAM posters. So science, technology, engineering, education, one of the two, art and mathematics. Probably engineering. Everything is really analytical these days, but we need to put back the humanities and the arts and education, the craft of education. So anyway, that's why we're bringing the game development, because it's inherently creative and artistic, and it can be educational. It's not inherently educational. In a way it is, because you have to learn the game mechanics and how to succeed at the game, but it's not really enriching, maybe, always. Depends on your definition of that and what kind of your goals are in life, of course. All right, so I will use ChatGPT here. And I'll kind of describe my goal. Okay, so just kind of setting the scene here to releasing a series of modifications for the Minetest game with the intention of using the game in an educational environment such as a school or household. Homeschooling, household, it doesn't have to be that, but those are examples. I think a lot of parents would encourage kids to play games, especially when those games are giving the kids back something, not just stealing our time and leaving us with none the better. I think of many of the popular games are just kind of like time sinks. They just they're entertaining and fun. Maybe have some anecdotal benefit, like, oh, I'm having fun with my friends, right? I'm connecting, I'm learning to socialize or improving my reflexes or some creativity. But we want to have like intentional, clear educational goals and purpose, not accidental or byproduct. And there will be emergent education. I've got a framework of education, like layers of learning that I'm working on in a draft document. And one of those layers is the emergent aspect, where we can't really predict all the educational outcomes, but we're going to start with a core focus of defining what we hope to instill into these modifications. So each modification will have one or more educational goals to make sure we design content that is meaningful and enriching. All of the mods are open source, so we'll have accompanying documentation as well as being published on the Minetest Content DB. Therefore, I would like to clearly articulate the educational goals and other aspects in the project README so parents, teachers, and other educators quickly understand the educational value of our projects. We're going to have several mods, each has its own project in a way. Eventually, I hope we'll be able to assemble a game, a Minetest game, but in the last live stream episode, we looked at that, and creating a Minetest game is surprisingly difficult. I can't just, I could basically fork the Minetest game, which used to ship with Minetest, which is now focusing only on being a game engine. And then a game has to implement details such as the world generation and other things. I'm not even sure the scope of it, but it's not just simply putting a bunch of mods in a folder and calling it a game. I suppose it was surprisingly difficult. So what we're going to do is just set up a server where we can prototype these things and collaborate. I've got that server running, and I installed our emotions mod. We can hop on there a little bit later in the live stream. Cool. So we got a nice response back. It said to give it the structure of our README. This is a really good template. A bit of it is redundant. Safety and privacy is important, but I don't want to have to address that in each one of our modifications. I think it would be a good more at the meta level of the game and not the mod. The game consists of multiple mods, and a game or a server, more specifically, where the game runs in a multiplayer environment, is where you have the most direct security and privacy concerns. Safety and privacy. I'm probably going to create a website that's going to encompass all of the research and documentation for this project. I've been thinking about that, and a bit of procrastination here. We have a Notion notebook where we're collaborating on this because it's very easy to collaborate and edit in real time in Notion. So that's published. It's actually published, so people can access that anonymously without logging into Notion. But I would like, unfortunately, I'm not able to find a way of publishing Notion to Markdown on GitHub and keeping it a similar project structure under revision control, which is really a goal of being an open source project, that all your documentation and things is also open source. All right, but let's go ahead and improve the Minetest emotions README. Yeah, you can see it's encompassing multiple mods in an overview of the game, but each, so we're not quite at that level. We haven't been able to assemble a game yet. We're working a little more granular level. Educational goals, age group. What was that in grade level? Now, this does kind of bring up one question I've been thinking about. The way we're sort of developing these right now is each mod is going to be its own repository, and each will have its own license file and licensed asset file and configuration. That has trade-offs. When we do that, it's a lot of boilerplate we have to create for each mod. I could create just one project and put all of the mods in there. The other aspect is when we publish these to the Content DB, it actually has really nice integration that it'll automatically create releases when we commit changes to the repo. And in this setup where we have individual projects in their own repo, I guess it's called a poly repo or something. I don't know, but there's a word for that. If there's a word for that, but the opposite or the inverse is called a mono repo, where everything's in one repo. And it's very popular in, for example, JavaScript community, so much that it has its own name. And I guess the default for years has just been that even small mods and libraries are in their own repository. And so I'm cool maintaining that boilerplate, but that does make a few things more difficult, such as like having common documentation, common contribution. There's a bit of duplication there, of course. Community and support. Anyway, that's what we're doing right now, is just each mod will have its own project, its own repo, own issues. We might have a discussion forum, and we'll see how the project evolves. Maybe there's some other mod packs that have gone over the more mono repo direction, or maybe there's a way of having multiple mods in subdirectories that when we publish them onto the Content DB, it'll be able to tell. I don't think I saw that when we were publishing this mod though. It's kind of expecting each each mod to be in its own repo. So I'm just telling it the structure that we'll use. So the way we work with these large language models is it's conversational, and kind of layers into more high-level details. Especially when I'm drafting content, I'll start with the general goal and get more structure in place. And now it looks like we have actually lower level detail structure here. So this would be our template. Practice. So we have just the basic GPT generated kind of description here. We've created a few blocks here. And the educational goal is more around emotional intelligence, which in that STEM or STEAM framework, educational framework, the human and the emotion gets omitted. It's like left out of our educational system. It's like almost we don't know how to deal with it. And it's like, oh, kids can learn about emotions at home. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm generalizing here, but the framework STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, it's like, where's the human? Are we teaching robots? I mean, we might as well be teaching artificial intelligences. You know, we've got to put the humanities back in education. Those are very important subjects, but they can be a little bit dehumanizing. Okay, here we go. So now we've got Minetest Emotions. Minetest Emotions is a visually captivating mod for Minetest designed to explore the world of emotions in an engaging way. It features a variety of blocks, each representing, I'm just checking the chat over here, sorry. Keep seeing something flashing. Getting Twitch notifications, I guess. I don't know. Each representing a distinct emotion with unique and carefully crafted textures. They are. Victor put some real attention to detail in these. They're charming. The graphics are just really great. One thing we need to do is generally get a framework of types of emotions. So we got like angry and happy and sad. Yeah, those are the baseline. And then a couple of fun ones. Ooh, shiny and ugh, which we didn't know what that would be called, but so we just called it the OG block. This is a really good start, but we want to get a little bit more formal and keep it fun, but try to have all of the foundation in a framework of most common emotions and maybe a few more specific ones. But angry, happy, and sad, those are pretty foundational, and some days you just feel like, oh, maybe you're staying home from school that day. This mod encourages players to immerse themselves in the ambience of these expressive blocks, enhancing their building and creative experiences within the game. Educational goals. This mod aims to foster emotional intelligence, empathy, and self-expression among players. It is designed to help children and adults alike in recognizing and understanding different emotions. And adults alike, seriously, this is something we're practicing our whole lives. Promoting a healthy approach to emotional processing and expression. Yeah, because these are natural, these are part of us, and we have to be able to be aware of them and be able to handle them and not sort of let them take over, like riding a bull in a china shop. This is suitable for children ages 6 and above, and that's about when we started playing Minetest, if I recall, maybe a little bit younger. And some of the content in Minetest can be kind of scary. Even for kids older, like 8 and 9, you know, there's costumes and zombies and mobs and things like that. Yeah, so I guess 6 and above is pretty good. This mod is also beneficial for older students and adults who are interested in exploring emotional awareness in a creative and interactive environment. Curriculum and alignment. While not aligned with a specific curriculum, this mod supports general emotional and social learning goals relevant to personal development and psychology education. Nice. Instructional use. Educators and parents can use this mod to initiate conversations about emotions, using the blocks as visual aids. Yeah, this is really good. This is sort of what I was getting at, and I'm glad that this tool can help me write and articulate some of these thoughts. It can be incorporated into lessons or activities focusing on emotional literacy. This is the key. First, we sort of start by what's the word for what this feeling is, right? What is it? And it's a mixture. Sometimes it's not just simple, like there's multiple emotions coming up, which is interesting. Sorry about this aside, but we can craft these, and in these crafting games, you can craft things of multiple types of items. So you might combine a couple of emotions. You might, I don't know what, but happy and let's see. Oh my gosh, I can't think of it, but happy and oh, shiny. You could be like, could be an emotion like ecstatic or something. I don't know. That's where we're sort of looking for a framework. And what are emotions made out of? Can you craft those in the game? Probably not going to be able to do a lot of crafting with these, but nonetheless, back to this story. There are at least visual aids and lesson planning and activities focusing on emotional literacy, where students are tasked with creating scenarios or structures that reflect different emotions. This mod can also be a tool for art therapy sessions, allowing a safe exploration of emotions. This is very cool. And that's what we're talking about with STEAM: science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. I think the E is engineering or education, but probably engineering. We want to put some kind of human element, human touch back in there. Art therapy. This game is artistic, and there can be therapeutic. Just getting in there, relaxing, and building with your friends. Safe exploration of emotions. Another cool thing is it puts the emotion out there. It's like you can see it and you can talk about it. It's not like you know, you're externalizing it a bit to have a frame of reference. So installation is set up. We've got the docs. It looks like it's linking to the Minetest website. So we'll just do that. And you install Minetest and then download it. And then standard mod installation process outlined in Minetest documentation. Okay. In the game, players will find 5 different types of blocks, each corresponding to a specific emotion. Okay. They can use these blocks to create environments or structures that represent various emotional states, encourage players to discuss why they chose certain blocks and what emotions they represent in their creations. So we got some licenses here and contribution. So this is looking good. What I'll do is just a regular old README, pull request process here. We'll edit it directly on GitHub. Make a couple fixes. Minetest emotions. Most notably the headers, which is like a pet peeve of mine from web development. People use the wrong headers. to make the font bigger or smaller. Actually, to go smaller, and actually breaks accessibility, and it's not the reason headers exist. Oops, I wanted to hit enter, and then a little bit of lint here. And since it's project overview, you don't need to label it that. And we'll go ahead. I'll commit these in a pull request. Yeah, and then we'll ask for review. And we'll look at how to review pull requests in our next meeting. So I mentioned there's a framework of learning and layers of learning going on in life in general, but in this project as well. And part of one of the outer layers or the meta layers is that we're learning how to develop software. Game software, open source stuff, how to GitHub, works, stuff like that. So there's layers of learning, and part of a development workflow is reviewing other people's code. So we'll need to know how to do that. I have to make a couple fixes real quick. Write a brief contributing guide that I can paste in contributing.md. Absolutely, a concise and clear contribution guide is essential for fostering a community-driven development process. Here's a brief template for your contributing.md. Yeah, we welcome and appreciate your interest in contributing to Minetest and Motions mod. This document provides guidelines for contributing to the mod and ensuring a smooth collaboration process. Use the issue tracker, check existing issues, make changes, fork, branch, make changes, test changes. Good stuff. Really, really good stuff. So in this branch, in my branch here, probably patch 1 branch, we will add contributing.md. We'll copy that. Now here it got the headings correct. I like that. All right, so now we have our pull request open from that branch, and we've added 2 files. And technically I could just merge this and release it, but it's good practice. It will automatically get released on merge. Good. Now I'll do a little bit of metadata here. just need a repo description that's going to be succinct enough that people get the point and maybe are interested in our project. Sounds good. Minetest mod. Minetest. What else can we put here? This is getting artificial intelligence stuff, but you know, we have to recognize emotions as humanity is. Very good. All right, so we just want to make sure we have a good basis for discussing the most common emotions, as well as more complex emotions that may be seen as a combination of more basic emotions. Let's explore common psychological frameworks for emotion classification and choose one as the basis of our mod. That way our mod will be based in some more widely accepted theory and hopefully more useful as a result. We're going to include a GitHub, in the GitHub issue, a resources section that'll list several existing frameworks. Yeah, very good. And the age group is important. So we'll paste this in. And these are head level 2, because this is our head level 1. Yeah, we don't need the caps. And I suppose the outcome doesn't need to be a choice yet. Let's just see what there is. Bring it back for discussion. And this is where, you know, this is a useful task at the mod level, but I think there needs to be some broader, more central project we'll put here, an open learning quest, and assign this to that project. And we'll put enhancement, good first issue, help wanted. And that way it'll kind of get out there. I think this is the one I've heard. I just couldn't remember that, the Wheel of Emotions. Yeah, this one's a pretty cool one. And it sort of gets into the thing where it seems like there's like a meta, a between, or you can combine vigilance and rage. But wow, rage is like, seems like 8. Now that's in terms of escalation, but it would seem like anger would be the basis, and rage is loathing reapers or annoyance. Oh, I see, they're getting more intense as you go into the middle. Ah, okay. I had inverted that. Huh. Yeah, I like it. Now, how do I just link to that? There we go. I'll just help out with a few links here. Paul Ekman. Anger, distrust, fear, happiness, and surprise. Interesting. Geneva Emotion Wheel. That's a pretty cool one. Let's see if it's used in any articles. It's used in emotion. So I can link to the image. Parrots in motion tree. Parrots in a tree sounds fun. Kids relate. I don't know. I don't want to link to a PDF for some reason. I like PDFs. Ontology for motion analogy. Goodness gracious. Okay, let's just skip that one. Appraisal theory of emotions. Oh my gosh. Oh my lord. Oh my whoosh. Okay. Well, we don't want to be so heavy, and they have to be suitable for use by children, so maybe these are a bit too theoretic. That looks good. Now we've got an issue. You've got issues, man. Now, what are we at? 1 hour yet? 45 minutes. Yeah, so I think we'll go for a walk. Clear my mind, and I've got an idea for the next task. I'm going to start fresh on, I believe the next thing I'm going to do is create a mod that we can put just graphics in the game that are pedagogical. It's like learning materials, like the periodic table of the elements. Just put a big graphic in there, JPEG or PNG file, load it into the game, boom. And this can be anything. It can be diagram of the solar system, you know. So we'll create a collection of these graphics, openly licensed Steam STEM graphics that can just be loaded into the game real quick and put into like an educational context environment, yeah, classroom in the game, whatever it is. I don't know exactly how they will be used. We'll think about that in more detail. But the reason I think it's good to start with this approach is because PNGs are relatively easy to create. There's a lot of good educational graphics freely available, and we can just start to incorporate some of those into the game world to take it in the direction of being a pedagogical tool that gives us something back for playing it, and can be used in the classroom, and parents can use it for homeschooling, things like that. So we'll do a real quick recap. Welcome to a recap of today's live code hangout. In today's session, we've been working on some open source modifications for the Minetest game. Minetest is an open source voxel game engine, similar to Minecraft, fully open and fairly mod friendly. In fact, most everything you see in the game is the result of mods. Even the core game itself no longer ships with the Minetest engine, so you have to install mods just to play something. It's a bit confusing getting started, but once you do, or once you join a server, it's pretty amazing what players are doing with some of these mods. Our goal is to publish some modifications that help teachers and parents and children to learn. These are educational mods. One of the first and most important intelligences we can build is emotional intelligence. So our first mod here is a way of discussing and sort of externalizing emotions, identifying them, and having some kind of a token of these emotions that can foster awareness and facilitate conversation. We call it Minetest emotions, and Resident Tech, my collaborator here, has created these charming graphics. We've published this on the Minetest Content DB, and it may have already been downloaded a few times. I don't know. How do I get to the statistics for it? So the source code is on GitHub here, if you'd like to check it out. github.com/openlearningquest and the Minetest emotions repository. Today's session was fairly simple. We have a basic README describing the project, but I'd like to give a little bit more context about the purpose of this particular mod and maybe the broad scope of what we're trying to achieve as we figure that out with these educational mods in general. Also, we want to encourage people to participate. So, as any open source maintainer knows, you've got to have documentation. It's very important, and a contributing guide helps. And so we've got a basic contributing guide today, and talking about how to share your ideas and submit bug reports and things like that to this particular project. Now, I think we're going to have multiple projects, so there will be some boilerplate. But we also added an improved README that describes the educational goals of this particular mod and how it can be used in a classroom environment to foster emotional intelligence, empathy, self-expression among players. It's designed to help children and adults alike in recognizing and understanding different emotions, promoting a healthy approach to emotional processing and expression. Some more details about how it'll, if it aligns with curriculum, which a lot of the curriculum I think is focusing on science, technology, engineering, and math, which are almost like dehumanizing arts, yet very important. So we're trying to instill the values of like being human back into the educational process, being creative, being artistic, feeling emotions. That is natural. Those are important visitors. We have to be intelligent about our emotions, just like we need to learn math. In fact, honestly, I think the emotional intelligence is probably more important and useful in daily living than a lot of the theoretical math that we learn, algebra and things like that. So why isn't it in our curriculum? Maybe it is. Some places are probably teaching that. Well, here's a tool you can use in your classroom or home, or perhaps like a therapy session, like art therapy was mentioned here as well. There's a lot of ways that these games can be useful tools, helping us with creativity and relaxation, among other pursuits. So what we want to do is build some mods to help the games give the player something back. They don't just take the player's time and money and things like that. Yeah, so that's about it. Created this README here. So I got this pull request open. A part of the learning process here means we're also learning how to collaborate, how to write software, contribute to open source software. So reviewing other people's code and contributions is an integral part of any software project typically, unless you're a solo dev. There are solo game devs. So I've asked for Resident Tech to review this here. We're also learning how GitHub works, things like that. The second thing we achieved today, with the help of ChatGPT, I should say, I've fleshed out the ideas and the intention, and ChatGPT has helped me kind of really make them more fully fledged. The mod currently has some kind of primitive emotions. We've got anger, happiness, sadness, and ooh, shiny, and og. Here's shiny and og. So we don't have the names for those, but nonetheless, they're pretty, creative. There's the og, and that's ooh, shiny. This artwork was done by Risen Tech, really charming. Fits the game aesthetic very well. And taking it to the next level, so to speak, making sure it's more comprehensive at least, and also understandable for children and adults. We want to have a framework. We want to choose from an existing psychological framework describing emotions. There's been a lot of thought and theory, I'm sure, in this area. It's not my background, so we're going to do a little bit of research here, looking for psychological frameworks for classifying emotions. And then we'll just use this as the basis of making sure we've got a block for all the core emotions, and then maybe some more advanced things such as, can you make more complex emotions by combining primitive ones? This is a crafting game after all. Can we craft emotions or decompose or reverse engineer more complex emotions into their fundamental states? I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But so we've got a few emotional frameworks here to research for starters, and some kind of that are pretty theoretical and abstract. That one of the main goals is this should be easy, relevant, and easy to relate to, relatable for kids. This is ChatGPT. Sorry, it's like if it's using like the grammar and things is more could be easier to understand. We wanted this to be easy for kids. So maybe I could even look at how we're writing our issues and stuff like that. But again, generated. So sorry, it's like my proofreading, but it is accurate, and it did capture that intention. So yeah, it's a little bit of a research task. Now it's open, or on GitHub, Open Learning Quest, Minetest Emotions. It's issue number 2. It's an enhancement. It's going to put us on a better foundation. It's a good first issue because it's kind of just research and seeing what's out there. You don't have to write any code or anything, but bring back what your thoughts are. So it's welcome. And we do appreciate help. So if you're interested in contributing to our fledgling open educational game, stop on by. All right. Well, thanks for your time checking out the video or stream. I hope you're doing well, and